Okay, everybody, welcome back. And I'm so excited to be able to talk more with some TNG alumni and someone who spent a great deal of time with us, one of my favorite people, Kennethe Vaughn. Kennethe, how are you?
Thumbs up, Dave. Thumbs up.
Awesome. Good to see you. So, Kenneth, you have been out now for a while, and it sounds like things are going well. But what do you remember the most about your job search process?
What I remembered the most would be the support I received from the TNG resources. I met with Dale, I met with you, I met with Bruce, and I always felt when I had those meetings, one, you listened to what I had to say, you encouraged me when I needed encouragement, and you asked the tough questions that I needed to answer to make sure I truly knew what I wanted to do. So I think with the support, the camaraderie, the resources that you folks knew in this community is what really got me through my job search.
Well, that's good. Well, tell me as you think back on it now, what were some of the things that really surprised you about trying to find a job here now? We kind of did yours pre-COVID, but I think there was kind of a little overlap in that space. But what did you find most surprising about the job search that you maybe hadn't thought you were going to run into?
Well, my background is human resources. I recruit people. I'm on the other side of the desk, right? So to be on the opposite, the flip side, was really surprising. And it's like if you're a doctor, don't be your own patient. You know what I mean? So listening to it, you folks have said, I knew that. Oh, I knew that. Well, I really didn't know that from the other side. And so the fact that you folks took the time to coach me on interview questions or the right questions or the research, all of that information helped me make my resume better, helped me with my interviewing skills, helped me when I was networking. Because networking, I thought I knew a lot of people, but I knew people, but I didn't know the right people to get me to the next step. And guess what? If I met with somebody for a cup of coffee and they weren't the right person, I remember that question. So, who else do you know that I should talk to? All right. Remember that question?
Mm-hmm.
I love that question. And I'd always throw it out there. Who else do you know I should talk to? And that gave me more people to talk to. So I learned quite a bit when I was with you guys.
Yeah, that's again, networking is so critical to that. And I assumed probably use some of that still today because it's as you're looking for resources. So, we do talk about how learning how to be a good networker is something that sticks with you. How do you use some of those skills today?
Well, I think for me, the COVID has really put a damper on things. I'm still meeting people here at my company because we're not fully back at work as well. So everything is still on Teams and still on Zooms. So we've been very methodical about how we reach out to each other. And I've been very methodical about how I reach out to my network. So I still try to do Zoom meetings with people, but I haven't really embraced let's go out and have a cup of coffee in the restaurant. I will be doing that soon, but LinkedIn has been one of my best friends. Teams have been one of my best friends as well as Zoom. So it I can't wait to get back out there, but I want to make sure I do it in a safe manner for myself and for the others involved as well.
Yeah, but it's good. It is good to know that you can still have some of that human interaction, even though we're not necessarily in a place where we can go out and get that face to face. You can do all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, from a job search standpoint, and from the things that you learned, is there any one thing that you could say that stuck out for you as um, the most effective tool or the most effective thing that you learned or put into place to help you with your job search?
Um, I would say I used a very positive approach when I did my job search. So I enjoyed receiving an invite for an interview. And because I really feel it's very important that I research the company and the environment and the person I'm going to be working for. It's just as much more important for me as it is for them. So I know they're actively looking at me and I'm actively looking at them. So every time I went on an interview, I saw it as another practice session that will get me to the job that I really, really wanted. So I didn't feel when those rejections came in, and you do get rejections, it was okay because I always felt it wasn't a job for me. The right job will come, and it will come when it's the right time. Because I've heard of people taking jobs and it just for the sake of taking a job, but it wasn't the right job for them. And I think the positive attitude and the fact that the meetings you folks had, the weekly meetings, and the fact that I could reach out to you folks reinforced that for me and helped me keep that positive approach. I had a good cohort. I love networking with my group. I love reaching out to them and talking to them and helping them when I could help them. You don't know how much that gave me confidence in the fact that I could help somebody else practice an interview, or I can refer them to people that I know, or I can review their resume because I felt myself actively involved in doing something on the job search.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that because that's one of the things that I think that most people that give us feedback tell us is that the group dynamic is as important as anything that they hear. So from a perspective of what the group meant, and you talked a little bit about some of that, but what was that like for somebody who's never been in kind of that group environment for something like this? What did that mean to you, and what are some of the things that stick out as kind of the high points there?
My group, and you have more experience than that, but I felt I had a very good group of talented cohort. I had marketing people, I had pharmacy people, I had finance folks in that group, I had sales people, all of those facets that I've been involved with from an HR point of view. But to sit down and listen to them, I had one of the salespeople help me put together a sales incentive plan. I had one person help me with finances. I had another person take a look at stock equity. That group was so talented, but you don't know that if you don't take the time to listen to what they have to say or reach out to them and have that conversation. And I know every week you folks encourage us, reach out to your cohorts. They got a lot of information. And if it wasn't for them, I probably would still be at your group today. But I learned a lot from them. And they really helped me along the way. So now when I'm talking about sales incentive plan, I remember what my sales guy taught me about sales incentives. And I'd never considered some of those things before in the past. Um, Reading the financial statement. Katie from Anthem was fabulous, just fabulous helping me through that. So I learned a lot from them that just kind of made me, I think, a better person.
Yeah, you guys almost, and at any one time, that's one of the things from our standpoint. At any one time, you could sit back there and go, boy, we could put a whole corporation together if we just.
I know, right? The only thing we needed was a product.
That well, right, exactly, the most important. But yeah, but we could make all the decisions. We had all the expertise. So, kind of to wrap up here, what would be the one thing you would tell somebody? And I guess you get the chance to do this as an HR director, but what would be the one thing you would tell someone as they're entering a job search in terms of words of wisdom on how to kind of figure out what they need to do and get themselves prepared for kind of this really unique process? What advice would you give them?
Take a moment and breathe. Okay. At some point in time, all of us are going to go through this. It's a temporary setback, and lean and seek out people to help you through this process. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to ask for feedback. It is okay to take stock of what do you want to do with the rest of your life. For me, I looked at, do I want to be a consultant? Do I want to retire? Do I want to go back to work? And I had people in that group that helped me with each one of those paths that I could have taken. And I was okay investigating, researching each one of those paths before I finally chose the one to come back to work. I'm glad I did. I'm still doing a little consulting on side. Now I don't know how I'm going to continue that, but it's, I just, and maybe at, it was a great time in my life to have this little break, but I just wanted to take advantage of everything that I could while I was off. And I think I'm a better person for what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and we see that, and it's I get the ability to kind of in hindsight to come back and talk to you and some of the other grads and get to see you guys kind of in as we were talking before we started taping it. I get to see you where I knew you were going to get, because as part of the staff, you realize that this is what these people are capable of, and it's so nice to see that. But it's also difficult in the moment to think that that day will come.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah,
that, talk a little bit about that, about how you kind of keep your things to just keep in mind. I tried to have that conversation today in our classes that, your fortune can turn on a dime. It can turn on a phone call, you know, it can turn on bumping into somebody, that you haven't spoken to in a while, but yet it seems like it'll never happen sometimes. So talk to me a little bit about how you kind of keep your keep yourself up, keep yourself focused, keep yourself moving forward through the process.
I remember you folks telling me it's not done until you get that written offer. And if you recall, when I started my search, I was talking to a friend who referred me to a sister who had an opening. And this woman was talking to me about a job before she even met me and what it was going to pay and all this. And I talked to her for a great 2 months. But I also continue to interview because, as you guys told me, it's not over till you get a written offer. It's not over till you get a written offer. Now, I said, okay, I got this offer that's coming, but I still wanted to continue interviewing because until it came, I wasn't going to be satisfied. And I continue to show up at my meetings. I continue to do the work. I continue to read the books. I continue to network. And throughout all of that, I saw a posting out of the clear blue sky at a company that I did not know was sold. I couldn't find anybody connected to that company. And that T letter that you folks told me to write, that T letter got me this interview, got me in front of the recruiter who now works for me, and, and got me this great job. And I would not have done a T letter if you guys hadn't told me to. I thought it was the hardest thing ever, right? But once you get the format down, it's good to go. And I did that T letter to the T. And she said it was the easiest person, the best resume because I had outlined everything they were looking for. And I had answers for how I've done that. So
I love hearing
that
that.
was that was phenomenal. That, and I've never done a T letter. I've done like maybe a couple paragraphs for a cover letter, and I was done with it. But in this case, I did the T letter. I looked on LinkedIn and all, but you know what? I thought I had a great job offer or opportunity, and then COVID hit and it didn't come through, but that's okay. I had something else on the side and I had some consulting work. So get busy, stay busy, get a routine, get your exercising in, just do those things that you didn't have time to do when you were working full time. Give yourself a break. Reward yourself every now and then, just to go out and smell the roses, see the flowers, or those things I never had time to do because I was always working. I truly enjoyed, I took advantage of every moment I had during this job search.
That's fantastic. Hey, Kennethe, thank you so much. It was great catching back up with you. I told you before, you're one of my favorite people that have come through TNG. So it's so good to see you in your full element. Thanks so much for your time today.